Hello there. This video, solving tactics on chesstempo.com. It's been a bit since I've done a video. Feels like I should be playing so king e6 or king c6 should be the moves. If king c6, I think the problem is king e3. Yeah, so if king c6, king e3, and if you step to d5, the king goes to d3, king e5, c4, pawn takes c4, king takes c4. I believe I'm lost because the king will get to a6. So king e6, and if king d3, king d5 holds the draw, and if king e3, king e5 holds the draw, king d3, king d5. Now king e6, king e2, I just go back to d6. Yeah. I have my weak streak still in progress. I don't know. Oh, I should adjust this screen, shouldn't I? I'm sorry. Oh, it's because of my downloads. There we go. All right, there we go. Fixed. Um hmm. Okay, black to move. Queen G1 check. Does that work? Queen G1 check. Rook takes G1. Knight F2 check. King H2. Nada. What about queen takes G2? King takes G2. Bishop F3 check. Bishop F3 check. King G3 forced. Bishop F2 checkmate. Ain't that beautiful? So the line, excuse me, the line goes, queen takes a g2, king takes g2, bishop f3 check, the king cannot go here, or here, or here, but he could go here. But then I would have knight h2, checkmate. So check, king here, check, king f1, knight h2 checkmates, king g3, bishop f2 checkmate. Boop. That was the easier one to see in my opinion, but all right. Okay, so if queen a5, bishop b6 traps the queen. That's not too difficult to see. So queen a5 is a no-no, and the only other square that I have is e7. So let's do it. Queen e7. Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces. Where do we go now? Okay, so if I play rook c6, do I lose my queen to like knight d3? No. No, I do not. Is there something else that I should be worried about? Very, very curious problem. Okay, so candidate moves are either rook c8, rook c6. No knight moves seem to be working. No queen moves seem to be working. There is, of course, queen takes f2 check, but... wait. If rook c6, there's rook d5. Rook d5, and my queen has no squares, huh? Sad. So rook c8. And now my queen has the c6 square. Topalov. Topalov's first name is Veselin. Like Vaseline. Veselin. How is it that I never knew Topalov's first name? Yeah. So if rook c6, trying to pick up the pawn on d6, rook d5 is sort of an end to the party. White to move. h5, h6, h7, h8. How do you stop it? h5 takes h6, c3, h7, c2. Rook c4, c1 queens, rook takes. So b1 check, king g2, c1 queens, rook takes, h8 queens. I've been watching Pepe Cuenca videos to practice my Spanish. Pepe Cuenca is the Spanish GM who works for Chess24, for those who don't just automatically know. So h5, h6, h7, h8. It seems to work. I think I could even, if it, like, after f5, h5, f5, h6. And if f takes g, h7, unstoppable. So yeah. h5, yep. I considered this line. So I can just play h6. Tout simplement. Is there anything? Jan Gustafsson might be a better chess player, but I will say my French is much better than his. That's one thing I have going for me. My life dream, do a chess 24 banter blitz in French. H6 seems to be the move, like, can't stop me from queening. H6, and if f takes g, h7. But I mean, there is probably a way to get a queen and keep the rook, right? Although after rook g5, there's king f6. If rook g8, king f7. So yeah, I'm just going to give him the rook. You can't stop me. I like the problem. The problem with that problem was that oftentimes you'll see one winning line and it's just like, oh yes, I'll give my rook and get a queen. However, the issue hmm, the issue with that is that oftentimes there's a way to just keep the rook and not sacrifice the material, even though you might get the queen one move earlier. Um, I would like not to lose my knight. That is one objective that I have in life. Don't lose pieces. Okay, there's no fanciness with queen takes d5. That's just stupid. So my only moves, I guess, are queen f1 or queen f5. What is the difference between queen f1 and queen f5? Queen f1, queen f5. Okay, I could also play like queen d2 check, but again, dumb. We're trying not to make dumb moves. It's the show where we play not dumb moves. Not intelligent moves, just not dumb moves. There's a difference. Queen f5, queen f1. I don't see the difference between queen f5 and queen f1. Queen f5, and I have a ready defender for e5, I guess. But queen f5, I guess that allows e4 with tempo, which is something. It's something. Like it is a difference. Is it a major difference? But it is a difference. My thermos is so good at keeping my coffee hot that I kind of wish it weren't so good at keeping my coffee hot. So yeah, queen f5, there's g4 with tempo, there's e4 with tempo. Queen f1, probably just play e4 anyways, right? But then I guess that at least gives me time to play like it gives me time to play g6 or g5 myself instead of moving my queen. Ah, no, no, no. Ah, okay. Okay. All right. I see the difference now. The difference is that Queen f5, queen a8 check, king h7, only move, and bishop e4. That is the difference, pinning the queen to the king. But if queen f1, bishop e4 check, g6. I almost had a misclick there. You can see how close that was. How close that was. Smyslov! Vasily Smyslov with the black pieces here. So yeah, the line, there are two options, queen f5, queen f1. What? I'm such an idiot. I should have just considered any possible checks that white would have from the beginning. But yeah, the line goes queen f5, queen a8 check, king h7, and game over. That's unfortunate. Can I do anything about it? So, what's the material balance right now? 3 minors, 2 rooks, queen, queen. So material balance is fine. There's bishop d6 check, which does save my queen. It's always good to save your queen. God save the queen. Bishop d6, bishop takes d6. And then do I have anything better than knight takes? Bishop g7 check does nothing. Rook c3. Rook c3 is a move. Yeah, what about rook c3? Instead of bishop d6 giving up a piece, play rook c3, give up the exchange. That seems a little bit more hospitable to my pieces. That's wizard chess. Yeah, so rook c3 covering instead of bishop d6. I don't see any other moves after. Queen doesn't have a5. There is no queen a5 in this position. So rook c3, and then I have then I'll be down the exchange and up 2 pawns. Definitely survivable with the king so open. So rook c3, and then what's he gonna do? Does he take with the knight? Does he take with the bishop? Does he take at all? Questions, questions, questions. Ding Liren! Ding Liren with the white pieces. B1 does not come with check. So let's see. There's knight takes f8. There's knight takes f8, queen takes f8, queen takes f8, check. King takes f8, bishop, check. Ooh, there's also the immediate bishop c5. Now bishop c5, queen takes c5, knight takes c5. b1 queens. b1 queens, knight d7, queen b4 or queen g6 check. No, I don't like it. But it'd be nice to get in some kind of knockout blow like that. I could, of course, play like knight takes f8, queen takes f8, queen b7. And after queen b7, queen b7, queen a3, queen d, or bishop d4. This seems to hold. Knight takes f8, b1 queens. b1 queens. Knight takes f8, b1 queens. Knight takes e6 check. King h7. Perpetual. Knight takes f8, b1 queens. Knight takes e7 check. King h7. Knight f8 check. King h8. King h8, perpetual. Knight f8, knight d7. Go back and forth, hop around. Hum. As much as I would love to talk about like movies and the things that interest me while I'm doing these problems, I gotta be honest, I don't like movies. Alright, not seeing it. Just want to play knight takes f8 and allow the perpetual. Because I see no way to stop the pawn without giving up the knight on d7. Okay, that simplifies things because now queen b7 is just fine, right? So the line that I calculated was queen b7, queen a3, bishop d4, and the pawn can't be covered anymore. So queen b7, queen a3, what other ways are there to cover the pawn? Nothing, yeah. So queen a3, bishop d4. I'm curious why the computer doesn't go for the perpetual line with b1 queens. And is there some checkmate here? I'm not seeing it. Perhaps you can bring in a little bit more cavalry. But no, check. So that's not permissible. So this is the line that I considered, and this is just a perpetual. Oop. Oh, wait. Ah. So no, not there. You'd have to go to G8. Ah, but then I still win the queen. I see. I still win the queen. Okay, that's why. Nakamura with the white pieces, by the way. Carlsen with black? What? This is a Hikaru Carlsen game. One of the only times in my life that I'm ever actually like proud to have Hikaru Nakamura as an American. What the hell? Unless this is this. So like Hikaru's track record against Carlsen is so bad that I'm suspecting this wasn't even played in the game, or that Carlsen somehow managed to draw out of this. Perhaps it is drawn. Next one. Queen takes h7 is covered by the queen on c1. Can I deflect? Let's say like rook c6. Rook c6. How is he stopping checkmate? Rook c6, queen b1. Seems to work. Because if rook takes b1, rook e1 would be checkmate. Rook c6, queen b1. Do I have queen f7 check? Wait, do I have queen f7 check right now? Queen f7 check, king h8, queen f6 check would allow bishop. Yeah, queen b1, that's a move. Unbelievable. Rook c6, queen b1, and then what? What about rook c6 combined with some sort of rook takes f8? Rook takes f8, king takes f8, queen f7, checkmate. Rook f8. Rook f8 if rook takes f8. No, just don't see it. Man, rook c6 is such a promising move. Is there some way to sack the queen? Queen takes f7. Queen f7 check, king h8, queen takes f8, rook takes f8, rook takes f8. Ooh. Rook takes f8, king g7, rook f7 check. And if the king goes back to g8, rook a8, checkmate. Ooh la la. Queen f7, king h8, queen takes, rook check, king g7, rook f7 check, king g8, rook a8, check, king e, and then throw pieces at me. Nom 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 nom. I'll take them all, and then I'll give checkmate. And if king h8, it's the same story. Nice. Zontag and Andre. I don't know who that is with the white pieces. Zontag. Andre. Alright, so queen is under attack, knight is under attack. Knight check. King g1. Rook check, queen takes, knight check wins the queen. Knight check, king g1, rook takes, queen takes. Knight check, king f1, queen takes. And then at the end of it, do I win h6? Is that the idea? So, rook check. Or rook check, queen takes. Rook check, queen takes, knight takes. Pawn takes. And if knight takes c2, the bishop goes away and happily ever after. So rook check, queen takes. Rook check, queen takes, knight h2 check, king g1. Knight check, king f1, repetition. What about knight d2 check? What about, ooh, oh, it's so beautiful. Queen c4 check. Queen c4 check, and the only move is queen takes c4 and then rook e1 checkmate. Oh, that's gorgeous. Queen c4 check, queen check, rook takes. That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. Kopev. Nikolai Antonovich Kopev with the white pieces. Navabashin. Arkady. I'm not certain who these people are. But whoever they were, Black played a very nice game. Very nice, very nice. Threatening to take on h7. Threatening to take the knight on d4. Threatening so many things. Oi, 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 oi. So I can take on f5. If I take on f5, he'll take on e8, I'll take on e8, then rook c8, and then knight e6, or knight d6. Hits the rook on c8 and protects my bishop on e8. So then after rook d7, kind of boned, huh? Knight takes, knight takes. Knight takes, knight takes, bishop takes. Rook c8, knight g7, not knight d6. If knight d6, rook d8, but if knight g7, I'll be okay. Now, I am technically up material, but white's very active. He should win one of these pawns. These seem like, well, if I don't do it, I'm down the exchange, right? So I have to do it. Better to be 2 pieces for a rook and down a pawn than to be than to be in this variation. So knight takes, bishop takes, rook c8, knight g7, and then after there's no fork there, is there? No. Then after rook b8, after rook b8, I suppose I can play b5. And after rook a5, or rook after rook a8, I suppose I can play a6, b8, b5, rook a8, and then the pawn falls. There's just no way around it. So if this, I would have this check, and then I could play knight e8. So I was thinking b8, b5, a8, and just the pawn falls. There's no way around it. But I was thinking that it'd be very hard to get this a pawn to move, and that would be the strength. So even though he wins the pawn, it's so difficult to get anything to happen on the queen side. And I'll untangle eventually. Maybe I would play a5 just to get the rook off of the back rank to free up my pieces. Yeah. All right, next one. Let's just do a couple more. Black to move. No, white to move. So I'm thinking king f5 is the way to go. But that seems like a draw no matter the case. Oh, wait, there's g5 check. g5 check, king h7. Ooh, ooh. g5 check, king h7, rook d7 check. King g8, king rook d8 check, king h7, h6 check, king h or g6 check, king h6, rook h8 checkmate. Holy shadoodles. Boom. Boom. Oh, so man, that's gotta hurt. Ah, I'm sorry, Guinecron Philippe. Uh, it should be a French name, Guinecron Philippe. If he were Spanish, his name would not be Guinecron. That Q would be spelled with a C. And Guy Pascal with the white pieces. Oh man. Oh, that is such a beautiful problem. That's so beautiful. And just the little things, that little finesse, like you have to give this check so that way you can control the back rank, because otherwise if you give g6 check first after king h6, you have nothing going for you. But with the rook on d8, king h6 is death. Beautiful. Beautiful. This kind of looks like I'm supposed to get rid of the queen somehow. Right? I think I've had this problem before, actually. I think I failed it too. Hmm. There's some way to use the pinned f3 knight. Knight takes c3, pawn takes c3. Knight takes c3, pawn takes. I mean, pawn takes c3, not necessarily forced. There is bishop takes g7, knight takes e2. I could also play bishop takes c3, but I'm not certain what that's doing for me. Um, looks like suicide, to be frank. And I'm not Frank. My name is Reese. Some way to use the pin. No, I'm not really seeing it. The rook came back. I believe the rook came back to defend the a2 pawns. So that way knight takes, b takes, and then rook takes a2 is not on. Of course, I could play bishop takes h6, queen takes h6, rook takes a2, but then knight g5 is just crushing, right? Knight g5 not so crushing. Knight g5 is not so crushing because I would have I would have knight f4 double check. Or knight e3 double check. Either or. So that line is wait. I wouldn't have that because I took the knight on c3. But what I would have is that the knight's pinned, so he can't take, or so he can't ever go to g5. But it seems very unclear to me that that would actually be the line. Um, Bishop e3 check. Bishop e3 check. If rook takes e3, bishop takes h6 wins material. But that's the only line in which I see that it wins material. If queen takes, what do I have? Nope, not seeing it. Hmm. Knight g4 check. Bishop takes. Doesn't seem awe-inspiring. Bishop takes h6. Queen takes h6. Knight takes c3. Pawn takes c3. Rook takes a2. And if rook takes a2, queen takes a2, knight g5, and I'm boned. Just dead in the water. I suppose I could play queen a7, queen takes h7 check, king f8, and f7 is covered, but queen check and then rook e1, it's just too much. It's just too much. You know what there is? There's knight takes c3, pawn takes c3, and rook f5. As a matter of fact, I believe that this is the answer. Rook f5 is the answer. Rook f5 is the answer. I remember it now. I remember the answer. Rook f5, and there's no way to cover both the bishop on h6 and the knight on f3. Oh. Shit. Noodles. What? What the fuck? Do I take on h6 first? Take on h6, queen takes h6, rook f5, rook e3. What? I don't get it. What? Come on. Come on, man. Be a bro. Be a friend. Rook f5. Rook f5. Rook f5. Queen takes f3 doesn't work, right? I figured that out a long time ago. Bishop takes h6, queen takes h6, rook f5, rook f5, rook e3, queen e3. Both seem good enough for defending. I must be missing something crucial here. Rook f5, and that should just be a piece win, right? If rook e3, bishop takes h6. Well, if rook f5, bishop f4. Does bishop f4 hold? Well, bishop f4, g5. g5, g4, rook f5. Or rook f6. Rook f6 and well, no, rook f6, and then the bishop has to go somewhere, and then I take on f3. So yeah, it totally works. So if bishop takes first, queen takes, rook f5, then rook e3. Rook e3, there's knight d5. No, there isn't, because the rook on d1's covering the d5 square. Yeah, I'm having difficulty because my line goes f5, bishop f4, g5. If bishop takes, queen takes, knight, and if g4, trying to counterattack, rook f6, and the bishop still has to move. So, so what the hell's the problem? I suppose the rook on f5 does cover the rook on d5, so that would get the exchange. For example, bishop h6, queen takes h6, rook f5, and if rook e3, knight d5, rook takes d5, there's always rook takes d5. Maybe that's what they want. Bishop, motherfucker, man. Okay, so rook d5, rook d5, and if queen c1, rook takes d1, queen takes d1, I win the bishop on h6. And if queen c1, I would just win the bishop on h6 directly. The fuck is wrong with rook f5? No, not knight d5, fg5. Alright, I got that problem correct. Fuck you guys. Bishop e4. And the queen has no checks because if queen g1 check, rook f1. Check from the bishop. But if bishop... The problem is if bishop e1, if bishop e4, there's knight e3 check, picking up f5. So the problem I need to resolve is I need to resolve my bishop problem, I need to resolve my rook problem. And I need to do so in such a way that I don't lose more material. Rook d8 doesn't work, knight e3 check, king d2, knight takes f2, and if rook g8 check, king knight g7, stopping the skewer. It doesn't work for many other reasons, but that's one of them. How about rook f7? Rook f7 threatens rook g7 check, winning the queen. It also solves my fork issue. It does not solve queen b3 check, but queen b3 check, king c1, Rook b3 check, king c1, queen e3 check, king d1 seems to be okay. But what about queen b3 check, king c1? There's queen takes, queen b3 check, queen c1. There's, I think, queen b3 check. I would need to go to e1. Yeah, queen b3 check, e1, queen b4 check, king f2, and I seem to be okay. Or there's also king f1. But no, king f1, knight d2 check doesn't feel as comfortable as it should. So I like king f2 better because my king can run to g3. So yeah, so rook f7, and if knight e3 check, my king can go to d2, my king can go to c1. King c1's a little bit meh. My king definitely does not go to e1 because then knight takes g2 check. Well, also it's an illegal move. So knight check, king here, king d2. If repetition, if knight back to c4, I have knight king to c2. If king e3, I would have king b1, and I'm starting to feel very safe. All right, so yeah, rook f7 is the move that I make. So king is the move, and king e1, because queen c1, queen takes b2 check, king d2, knight check, king would be forced to e1, and then knight takes g2 with check. The line goes king c1, queen check, king here, and then knight check. The king is forced to e1, and knight takes g2 with check. Also, rook g7 is no longer on because there's always queen takes g7. So I should play king e1 directly, and then I'm going to survive. So this is the exact line that I covered when I was talking earlier. Ay. No, I even said it earlier. I said king g3. Because king g3, there's no longer checks here. There's no longer checks from the knight. And after queen check, I suppose I could always just... that will be it for me today. I was kind of aggravated with that problem where I got the alternate correct. That was extremely frustrating for me because I just couldn't see rook d5. I believe I had that problem before, and I believe I had gotten it wrong, or maybe I got it right. I'm not sure, but I was very frustrated not to be able to see rook d5. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this session. I know that I didn't do much of a preamble there at the beginning. It's been maybe 3 days since my last session, and I haven't even uploaded the ones that I did while I was sick. So it's been a good time since I've uploaded any videos. I recorded, then I lost a video, then I got lazy, and I started learning a lot of Spanish. So it's just been a weird week. But I hope you learned something from this session all the same. I think we did pretty well today. I do think it's time to move up to 1800, 1900, but I'm just a little bit of a coward, to be honest. And I'm not really in the mood just yet. Fuck it, let's just do it. But I thought it was a good session overall. I'm happy with my progress, and I hope that you're happy with whatever progress you're making in your own chess journey as well. Until the next time, take care, and the best of luck. Okay? I'll stop rambling now, so goodbye. Take care.